Melissa's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it echoing in her ears as she stood cornered against the cold hallway wall. Luca was just inches away, his dark eyes fixed on her with an intensity that paralyzed every muscle in her body. His hand slowly slid across her face, caressing her cheek with a tenderness that contrasted terribly with the words that came out of his mouth. "You belong to me now, Melissa. There's no escape, no refusal. The sooner you accept this, the better it will be for everyone you love." In that terrifying moment, she finally understood the devastating truth. The man she had known as a respectable businessman was, in reality, one of the most dangerous figures in all of Chicago, and she had become his obsession. But how did all this begin? How did a simple night of frustration transform Melissa Stone into a prisoner of one of the city's most feared crime bosses? Hello, I'm Rachel Ashwood. If you love real and intense stories like this one, subscribe to the channel now, turn on notifications, leave your like, and share with your friends. Your support is essential for us to continue bringing these cases. It all started on a rainy October night in Chicago, Illinois, when Melissa Stone, 24 years old, was sitting alone in the luxurious lobby of the Grandeur Hotel, waiting for her best friend who, once again, was late. Melissa had recently graduated with a degree in business administration from DePaul University and was desperately struggling to balance her finances. Student debts were growing like a relentless snowball, and her widowed mother, who faced serious health problems, partially depended on her financial help to afford expensive medical treatments. When she finally got that dream job with an absurdly generous salary and incomparable benefits, Melissa thought all her problems were solved. She had no idea she was about to enter a dark world from which it would be impossible to escape. On that specific night at the Grandeur Hotel, Melissa had already been waiting for over an hour and a half. Her friend Jennifer had promised to meet her at 9 o'clock to celebrate Melissa's new professional position with sophisticated cocktails and endless conversations. But Jennifer had the terrible chronic habit of always being late, and that night would be no different. Melissa obsessively checked her phone every 2 minutes, watching excuse messages pile up on the screen. "I'm almost there. Just 10 more minutes," said the first message sent 40 minutes ago. "Traffic is impossible, but I'm on my way," promised the second, sent 20 minutes later. Melissa sighed deeply, feeling frustration grow like a hot wave in her chest. She had dressed carefully for that night, wearing her best navy blue dress that highlighted her green eyes, high heels that were massacring her feet, and impeccable makeup that took almost an hour to get perfect. All of this to sit alone in a hotel lobby, looking like an abandoned idiot. The Grandeur Hotel was an exclusive boutique establishment located in the heart of Chicago's financial district, occupying a restored historic building with stunning Art Deco architecture. Unlike large commercial hotels that received hundreds of guests daily, the Grandeur had only 45 luxury suites, serving exclusively an elite clientele that valued absolute privacy above anything else. There were no tourists taking selfies in the lobby, no paparazzi camped outside, just extremely wealthy and powerful people who preferred to remain invisible to the public eye. Melissa normally wouldn't have the courage to even walk through the revolving door of such an intimidatingly elegant place, but Jennifer had categorically insisted they meet at the Grandeur's bar. "It's absolutely stunning, you'll love it. We'll have expensive drinks and pretend we're millionaire heiresses," Jennifer had said with contagious enthusiasm. But now, sitting alone in that velvet armchair that probably cost more than 3 months of her rent, Melissa felt completely out of place and humiliated. She observed her reflection in one of the ornate mirrors in the lobby and wanted to disappear. Her carefully styled blonde curls were already starting to lose their shape because of the humidity in the air, although her makeup was still impeccable. The hotel bartender had appeared a few minutes earlier with a sympathetic and embarrassed smile. "Miss, the bar closes in 15 minutes. Would you like me to prepare something for you on the house before we close?" The unspoken translation was crystal clear. "Your friend isn't coming, and we feel sorry for you." "No, thank you," Melissa responded with all the dignity she could muster. "I'll just wait a little longer." He nodded understandingly and disappeared back to the bar, leaving her alone with her growing humiliation. What Melissa didn't notice was that there was someone watching her every move from across the lobby, someone who was about to completely change the course of her life. Luca Miller was 36 years old and suffered from chronic insomnia for over a decade. Most nights, he stayed awake until 3 or 4 in the morning, working on his multiple businesses, reading, or simply existing in the silent hours when the city finally stopped screaming. On that specific night, He had come down to the hotel lobby around 11 o'clock to do his final inspection before trying to sleep a few short hours. The grandeur was his. He had bought the hotel 5 years ago from a bankrupt businessman, invested millions in the complete restoration of the historic building, and transformed the place into one of the most exclusive and profitable properties in all of Chicago. Luca lived in the penthouse that occupied the top 2 floors of the building, an absurdly luxurious space that most people would consider excessive, but which he had meticulously transformed into his personal sanctuary. At 36 years old, Luca commanded the Miller family operations with the same surgical precision with which he managed his hotel. The legitimate businesses, the grandeur, 3 award-winning restaurants, a rare wine import company, were absolutely impeccable and generated impressive profits. The less conventional operations were carefully controlled, executed with absolute discretion, and protected by layers upon layers of intermediaries. He had rigid rules, moral lines he never crossed, and protected everything that was his with almost obsessive and relentless dedication. That night, during his routine inspection walk through the hotel floors, Luca noticed the woman in the lobby immediately, and something about her captured his attention in a way he couldn't rationally explain. She was beautiful, that was obvious even to a casual observer, but there was something much deeper that intrigued him intensely. She remained seated with perfectly upright posture, despite being visibly uncomfortable, checked her phone with growing frustration, but never cried or made any kind of dramatic scene, just waited with a type of patience that seemed more determined stubbornness than passive resignation. "Who is she?" Luca asked Marcus, his head of security, who had appeared silently at his side like a loyal shadow. Marcus was an immense man, ex-military, who had worked for Luca for almost 8 years, and knew every dark secret of his employer. "Not a registered guest, sir. She arrived at 9 p.m., waiting for someone who hasn't shown up yet. We're monitoring to ensure she doesn't represent any security problem. She's been here for exactly 1 hour and 43 minutes. Luca watched as she checked her phone once more, saw the way her jaw contracted slightly, how she closed her eyes and breathed deeply as if trying not to scream in frustration. There was something deeply fascinating about the way she refused to publicly fall apart, maintaining her composure, even when she was clearly being abandoned. "Boyfriend?" he asked, keeping his tone casual. "Unknown, sir, but she's definitely alone, and whoever she's waiting for keeps sending excuse messages. From the movement of her fingers, it seems like there are many messages." Marcus made a calculated pause. "Do you want me to ask her to leave? The bar closes in a few minutes anyway." Luca should say yes, should go up to his penthouse, try to sleep the 4 miserable hours his body desperately needed, and let that beautiful, frustrated woman continue waiting for whoever was making her look increasingly miserable in that lobby. But instead, he heard himself saying something completely outside his behavioral pattern. "Bring her upstairs." Marcus slowly turned to face him with an expression of carefully controlled surprise. "Sir, to the penthouse. Tell her I'd like to offer her a drink. Make it absolutely clear she can refuse without any consequences. Be completely professional, but bring her to me." Luca maintained his firm and decided tone. "You want me to bring a complete stranger to your private residence?" Marcus couldn't completely hide his incredulity. "I want you to extend an invitation to a woman who was clearly abandoned by someone who doesn't deserve her time. Make the invitation respectfully and professionally." Luca met Marcus's eyes directly. "She can say no, but ask." Marcus studied his boss's face for a long moment, looking for signs that this was some kind of test or joke, then finally nodded. "Yes, sir." "As you wish." Luca headed to the private elevator that led directly to his penthouse. This was completely insane, and he knew it perfectly. He never did things like this, never invited unknown women to his home, maintained rigid boundaries between his personal life and his hotel, had strict rules about mixing business with any kind of personal involvement, but something about the way she remained sitting there, beautiful and frustrated, and terminally refusing to leave despite evident abandonment, compelled him in a way that defied his usual logic. He wanted to meet her, needed to discover who was that woman who waited with such stubborn dignity. But what would happen in the next few hours would change both their lives forever, in ways neither could predict. Melissa was typing another irritated message to Jennifer when the security guard approached. Tall man, impeccable professional suit, the type of physical presence that silently communicated, "I solve serious problems." "Excuse me, miss." She raised her eyes, feeling her heart accelerate slightly. "Yes? I apologize for disturbing you, but Mr. Miller, owner of the Grandeur, noticed that you've been waiting for quite some time. He would like to extend an invitation. Melissa blinked, confused. An invitation? To join him for a drink in his private residence, the penthouse suite. Marcus kept his expression neutral and professional. I want to make it absolutely clear that this is an invitation, not a requirement or obligation. You are completely free to refuse without any consequences. But Mr. Miller thought that perhaps you would prefer company to continuing to wait alone. Melissa's brain completely short-circuited. The hotel owner wants me to go to his room. His residence? She repeated, needing to confirm she had understood correctly. Yes, miss. Mr. Miller lives in the penthouse above the hotel. He has owned the grandeur for 5 years. Marcus took a business card from his jacket's inner pocket and handed it to her. This is his information. You can verify with the front desk if you wish. I'll wait here while you decide. Melissa looked at the elegant card. Luca Miller, owner, Grandeur Hotel, followed by a phone number and email address. This was absolutely insane. A complete stranger, the hotel owner, wanted her to come up to his private penthouse for a drink. Every security alarm her mother had carefully installed in her head throughout her entire life screamed for her to say no. Leave immediately. Get an Uber and go home and forget this entire humiliating night. But then her phone vibrated again. Jennifer. Melissa, I'm so sorry. Traffic is simply not moving. Can we reschedule? I'm really sorry, dear. I promise I'll make it up to you. Melissa stared at the message. The 5th cancellation just that month. The 100th excuse that year. The endless cycle of Jennifer delaying or canceling or completely forgetting plans, and Melissa simply passively accepting as if it were normal. She looked at Marcus again. This Mr. Miller, is he really the legitimate owner? Yes, ma'am. 5 years. Lives on the property. Very present and active management. And he wants me to come upstairs? He would like to offer you a drink and conversation in his private residence, which, again, you are absolutely free to refuse. Marcus maintained his respectful and patient tone. Melissa looked at her phone, at Jennifer's message, at the lobby where she had spent almost 2 hours sitting like a complete idiot, waiting for someone who clearly didn't value her time. Screw it, she murmured quietly. Okay, she said louder, standing up. I'll go. If Marcus was surprised, he showed absolutely nothing. Excellent. This way, please. Melissa followed him through the lobby, past the closing bar, to a private elevator that required a special access card. When they entered and the doors closed, reality crashed down on her like a bucket of ice water. What the hell was she doing? She was getting into an elevator with a security guard to go to a complete stranger's room. A man she had never seen, who owned the hotel but could be anyone. Could be 80 years old, could be married, could be a predator who collected vulnerable women from hotel lobbies. The elevator began to rise smoothly. Melissa watched the floor numbers increase, checked her reflection in the mirrored walls. This was absolute madness. Excuse me, she said, her voice coming out a little shaky. This Mr. Miller, how old is he? 36, ma'am. Okay, not 80, that was something. And does he do this often? Invite random women upstairs? Never, ma'am. I've worked for Mr. Miller for 8 years. This is the first time he's extended this type of invitation. Melissa didn't know if that made the situation better or infinitely worse. The elevator continued rising silently. She could still stop this. Could tell Marcus she had changed her mind. Could go back to the lobby, get an Uber, go home, forget this entire embarrassing night. But then she thought about Jennifer, about waiting endlessly, about always being understanding, always being patient, always putting other people's schedules and conveniences above her own dignity. No, not tonight. If she was going to do something reckless, at least it would be her choice. At least it would be a better story than, I waited in a hotel lobby for 2 hours while my friend canceled via text. The elevator smoothly decelerated and stopped. Melissa took a deep breath. The doors began to open slowly, and Melissa literally forgot how to breathe, because the man standing in the penthouse living room definitely, absolutely, did not have 80 years. He had maybe 36, maybe 37 at most, and was criminally, illegally, unfairly attractive in a way that should be prohibited by law. Tall, easily over 6'1", dark brown hair that looked perfectly imperfect, as if he had run his hands through the strands, but they had fallen exactly the right way. Complete black suit with the jacket already removed, just a dress shirt with sleeves carefully rolled up to the elbows, gold watch catching the soft ambient light. A face that absolutely had no right to be so absurdly handsome on a common human being. Strong and defined jaw, straight and aristocratic nose, eyes of a brown so dark they seemed almost black under the ambient lighting. He was holding a whiskey glass, smiled slightly when he saw her, not in a predatory way, more amused, as if he knew exactly what she had been thinking in the elevator. "You came." His voice was deep with a slight trace of an accent underneath, Italian perhaps. "I wasn't sure you would." Melissa found her voice with extreme difficulty. "Neither was I. Definitely not 80. More like illegally attractive. Should that be a crime?" It felt like it should be a crime. Luca gestured to the living room behind him. Floor-to-ceiling windows showing Chicago glittering like scattered diamonds. Modern furniture mixed with what appeared to be genuine antiques. Art on the walls that Melissa recognized from museums she had visited. A space that was clearly extremely expensive, but also clearly inhabited. Books on tables, an open laptop, a coffee cup on the counter. "Please," he said. "Come in. Can I offer you a drink? Wine? Something stronger?" Melissa stepped out of the elevator on legs that felt unsteady. Marcus nodded to Luca and disappeared back into the elevator, leaving her completely alone with that stranger in his beautiful and expensive home. "Wine," she managed to say. "Red, if you have it. I have several." He moved to a bar area that looked like it belonged in a high-end restaurant. "Preference? Region? Type of grape? Surprise me." He selected a bottle, opened it with practiced ease, poured 2 glasses, brought one to her. Their fingers touched briefly when she took the glass. His hands were warm. "Luca Miller," he said. "But you already knew that part." "Melissa Stone." She took a sip of the wine. It was excellent. Probably cost more than her car payment. "So, do you invite strange women to your apartment often?" "Never. You're the first. Probably the last. This isn't a habit." He gestured to the seating area near the windows. "Sit, please. Unless you'd prefer to stay near the elevator and maintain your escape route." She laughed, despite herself, moved to the couch. He sat across from her in an armchair, respectable distance, not invading her space. "Why?" she asked directly. "Why invite me up here? Because you were waiting for over an hour. Because whoever you were waiting for kept making excuses. Because you looked beautiful and frustrated and like you were considering committing murder." He took a sip of the whiskey. "And because you stayed. Didn't cry? Interesting enough to send security to collect me? I sent Marcus to extend an invitation with explicit instructions to make it clear you could refuse." "Did he?" "He did. Then you chose to come, which makes this less me collecting you and more you being curious." His eyes held hers. "So, are you curious?" "Yes. God, yes." But Melissa wasn't going to say that out loud. "About why a hotel owner spends his Friday night watching the lobby," she countered. "Insomnia. I don't sleep well. I walk the property before attempting rest. Tonight I walked past and saw you and decided sleep could wait." He leaned back in his chair. "Your turn. Who were you waiting for?" "Friend. Who's chronically late." "And you're chronically forgiving?" "I was." Melissa took another sip of the wine. "Tonight I decided to stop." "Good. People who waste your time don't deserve it." They talked about small things at first. Why she was at the grandeur. What brought her to Chicago. How long Jennifer had been making her wait for things. Then bigger things. Her work as a marketing consultant. His ownership of the hotel. Why he lived above his business. Why she tolerated friends who didn't respect her time. The wine flowed. The conversation never stopped. Melissa found herself relaxing despite the absolute insanity of the situation. Luca was intelligent, funny, direct in ways she genuinely appreciated. He didn't hide his interest, made it clear he found her attractive, that he was enjoying talking to her, but didn't pressure. Just offered attention and conversation, and really very good wine. At 1 a.m, she realized she'd been there for almost 2 hours. "I should go," she said, without moving an inch. "Should you?" He poured more wine into her glass. "Or should you stay? Continue this conversation and let your friend wonder where you went? That's petty. That's fair. She made you wait 2 hours. You're simply balancing the scales." Melissa laughed, checked her phone. 17 messages from Jennifer, ranging from apologetic to almost desperate. Jennifer. "Oh my God, Melissa, where are you?" Jennifer. "Melissa, please answer." Jennifer. "I'm at the hotel, but you're not here." Jennifer. "Are you mad at me?" Melissa turned the phone screen down. "You're a bad influence. I'm an excellent influence. I'm teaching you to value your time." He stood up. "Have you eaten?" "I haven't. My chef lives on the property. I can have food sent up. Stay for dinner, please." She should say no. Should go home. Shouldn't stay in a strange man's penthouse eating dinner at 1 a.m. "What kind of food?" she asked. His smile was devastating. "What do you like?" They ate Italian food that was better than anything Melissa had ever tasted in restaurants. Sat at his dining table with Chicago glittering outside the windows. Talked about everything and nothing. He asked questions and really listened to the answers. Made her laugh, challenged her when she said something he disagreed with, but in ways that felt like stimulating intellectual debate, not disrespect. At 3 a.m, Melissa's phone died completely. "I really should go now," she said, without really meaning it. "You should." Luca stood up. "But if you want to stay, I have guest rooms. You're welcome to one. No pressure, no expectations, just an offer so you don't have to Uber home at 3 a.m. He moved to the windows, looked out at the city. "I'm enjoying this. I'd like to continue, but I understand if that's too much trust to give a stranger." Melissa studied him. The line of his shoulders, the way he had maintained distance all night despite clear attraction, the way he had made everything feel like her choice, her decision, her control. "I'll stay," she said finally. "Guest room with a lock on the door. All my guest rooms have locks, and I'll be in the master suite on the opposite side of the penthouse." He turned to face her. "Thank you for trusting me. I don't take that lightly." But what Melissa didn't know was that that decision to stay would mark the beginning of an obsession that would consume them both in ways neither was prepared to face. The guest room was beautiful. King bed with sheets that felt like pure silk. Attached bathroom with products that probably cost more than her entire skincare routine. A robe that was softer than anything she owned. Melissa lay in the bed staring at the ceiling, trying to process what had just happened. She had come to meet Jennifer for drinks, had ended up in a hotel owner's penthouse, had spent hours talking to a man she'd just met, had agreed to sleep in his guest room. This was insane, but also the best night she'd had in months. She fell asleep with a smile on her face. Melissa woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. For a disoriented moment, she didn't know where she was. Then memory came back like a wave. Luca, the penthouse, pasta at 3 a.m. Oh God. She found her dead phone, found her shoes kicked off somewhere, wrapped herself in the borrowed robe and carefully ventured out of the guest room. Luca was in the kitchen making espresso. He had changed. Gray t-shirt, black jeans, bare feet, slightly messy hair. He looked unfairly good for someone who had probably slept as little as she had. "Good morning," he said without turning around. "Coffee, please. Strong. Intravenous if possible." He laughed, poured a cup for her. "How did you sleep?" "Better than I expected, considering I'm in a stranger's house. Technically, we're not strangers anymore. We had dinner, multiple courses. That's at least acquaintance level." He handed her the coffee. "Cream, sugar, black is fine." They stood in his kitchen drinking coffee while Chicago woke up outside the windows. It should have been awkward. Instead, it felt comfortable, easy. "About last night," Luca began. "If you're going to say it was a mistake, I was going to say it was the best Friday night I've had in years." He put his cup aside. "And ask if you'd like to do it again, appropriately. Dinner, not at 3 a.m, somewhere public. So you know I'm not a serial killer." "I already know you're not a serial killer. Serial killers don't have this much original art or make coffee this good. So that's a yes?" Melissa thought about it, about how easy talking to him had been, about how he had made her laugh, about how he had respected every boundary while making his interest clear, about how she hadn't thought about Jennifer once after midnight. "Yes," she said, "but I need to charge my phone and probably deal with the 17 panic messages from my friend. Charge her in the guest room. Take your time. I'll make breakfast." Melissa dealt with Jennifer's messages while eating the best omelet of her life, called her friend, endured the worried, "Where were you?" and the guilty, "I'm sorry I was late." Listened to the excuses about traffic and work and stress. "It's okay," Melissa said automatically, then stopped. "Actually, no, it's not okay. Jen, you were 2 hours late. You've been late or canceled 5 times just this month. I love you, but I'm tired of waiting. Can we please work on this?" Silence on the other end. Then, "You're right. I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not just saying it. I'll do better. I promise. Thank you. That means a lot." Afterward, Luca drove her home to her apartment in the West Village, walked with her to the door like a gentleman. "Dinner tomorrow?" he asked. 7 p.m. I'll pick you up. "You don't know if I'm free tomorrow. Are you?" "Yes." "Then 7 p.m. He smiled. "Thank you for last night, for trusting me, for being the most interesting conversation I've had in months. Thank you for rescuing me from lobby limbo." He leaned in, kissed her cheek, soft, respectful, leaving her wanting more. "Tomorrow, Melissa Stone." Wear something nice. I'm taking you somewhere special." He left before she could respond. Melissa went inside, collapsed on the couch, and tried to process. She had just spent the night with a hotel owner who was obscenely attractive, clearly wealthy, and apparently interested in her. This was either the beginning of something amazing or the beginning of a catastrophically bad decision. She decided she didn't care which. Luca took her to his restaurant in downtown Chicago. Italian, naturally. 2 Michelin stars, impossible reservations. He owned it. So they walked right past the line and got the best table. Corner booth with privacy and perfect ambiance. "You own this too?" Melissa asked, studying the elaborate menu. 3 restaurants, the grandeur, some import-export businesses. "I'm Sicilian. We collect enterprises." He waved away the menu. "Trust me to order." "Should I?" "If you don't like it, you can order something else. But I think I have good instincts about what you'll enjoy." He did. Every dish was perfect. They talked through dinner about her work, marketing campaigns she was proud of, difficult clients, the freelance life, about his hotels, how he had bought the grandeur, transformed it, loved the work of hospitality, about his family, Sicilian, big, loud, traditional. "My mother still thinks I should be married with 6 children by now, and you're not because I'm busy, and because I haven't met someone who understood my world, what I do, who I am." He reached across the table, took her hand. Until maybe now. The chemistry was undeniable. Every touch, every glance, every word loaded with attraction. When dinner ended, Luca walked her to his car. "Your place or mine?" he asked. Melissa's heart hammered. "Is that presumptuous?" "Extremely. But I've been thinking about kissing you since you walked out of that elevator looking at me like you couldn't believe I wasn't 80 years old." She laughed. "I wasn't thinking that." "You absolutely were. You expected an octogenarian in a silk robe. Instead, you got me. Disappointing?" "Definitely not disappointing." "Good." He moved closer. "So, your place or mine?" "Mine," she decided. "And for the record, I was absolutely thinking you'd be 80. He kissed her then, right there on the street with Chicago moving around them. Soft at first, testing, then deeper when she responded. His hands in her hair, her fingers clutching his jacket, both breathless when they finally pulled apart. "Your place," he said again. "Now, before I forget, I'm trying to be a gentleman." They barely made it inside her apartment before kissing again. Against the door, down the hallway, into her bedroom, clothes disappearing between kisses. "Tell me if you want to stop," Luca said against her neck. "Any time I'll stop." "Don't stop." Melissa pulled him closer. "Definitely don't stop." They made love with Chicago glittering outside her windows. He was attentive and intense, learning what made her gasp, what made her moan. When they finally came together, it felt inevitable. Perfect. Afterward, lying tangled in the sheets with her head on his chest, Melissa said, "So that happened." "Definitely happened." He kissed her hair, "And I'd very much like it to happen again. Now. Eventually. First, I need approximately 10 minutes to remember how my body works." She laughed. "You're staying?" "If you want me to." "I want you to." They fell asleep, wrapped around each other. And when Melissa woke in the morning to find Luca still there making coffee in her kitchen wearing just his boxer briefs, she realized this was definitely not a one-night thing. This was the beginning of something real. But what Melissa was about to discover about Luca's true business would test everything she thought she knew about love, loyalty, and how far she was willing to go for someone. Over the next 2 months, Melissa and Luca fell into a relationship that felt both fast and inevitable. They saw each other constantly. Dinners at his restaurants, nights at her apartment, lazy Sundays in his penthouse. The chemistry never faded. If anything, it intensified. She learned more about him, the insomnia that kept him up most nights, his love of architecture and art, how he had taken over the family business at 25 when his father died, the responsibility he felt for his employees, his family, his legacy. And gradually she learned about the other businesses, the ones he had been vague about initially. The first time she saw that side of him was unexpected. They had been together for 6 weeks. Melissa had stayed the night at the penthouse, was supposed to leave early for a client meeting, but the meeting was canceled, and she decided to surprise Luca with breakfast. She was in the kitchen when she heard voices coming from his office. The door was slightly open. She wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but the tone made her pause. Luca's voice, cold in a way she had never heard. "I was very clear about the terms. You agreed. Now you're trying to renegotiate. That's not how this works." A man's voice, nervous. "Mr. Miller, please." I need more time. The payments are too high. My business can't sustain it. Your business is operating in my territory under my protection. You pay for that protection. Those were the terms. But I can't. Then you close your business or you find a way. Because if you're 3 months behind on payments, you're telling me my protection has no value. And I don't allow that message to spread. I'm not trying to. You have 1 week. Full payment, or I pull protection, and let whoever wants to move into your space do exactly that. Are we clear? Silence then. Yes, sir. Crystal clear. Good. Marcus will see you out. Melissa moved away from the office quickly, went back to the bedroom, heart pounding hard. That voice, that cold, controlled threat, that was a side of Luca she hadn't seen. When he came looking for her 20 minutes later, his expression had shifted back. Warm, relaxed. Hey, I thought you had a meeting. Cancelled. She looked at him carefully. Luca, I heard part of your conversation in the office. His expression immediately became guarded. How much did you hear? Enough. Protection payments, territory, threats about pulling coverage. She sat on the bed. I knew you had other businesses, but hearing it is different from knowing it abstractly. He was quiet for a long moment, then came to sit next to her. I warned you about what I do, what my world involves. I know, and I'm not scared. But I need you to be honest. Was that man in actual danger if he doesn't pay? Yes and no. I won't hurt him. I don't hurt people over money. But if I pull protection, and he's operating in contested territory, someone else will move in. Someone less careful. That's the danger. He met her eyes. This is what I do, Melissa. I manage territory, collect payments for protection that's real. I have rules. I don't hurt innocent people. I don't do drugs or trafficking. I don't cross certain lines, but I do run operations that aren't legal, that involve pressure and leverage and consequences. If that's too much, it's not. She took his hand. But I need you to understand something. I'm choosing this. Choosing you with full knowledge of what that means. I'm not naive. I'm not pretending you're just a hotel owner. But I also need to know you'll be honest with me. Always. Even when it's uncomfortable. I will. I promise. He pulled her close. Thank you for not running. For seeing all of me and staying anyway. Thank you for trusting me enough to let me see it. They sat there for a while holding each other. And Melissa realized this was the real test. Not the attraction or the chemistry or the easy parts, but this, seeing the darkness and choosing him anyway, knowing what his world involved and deciding her love was bigger than her fear. She had made her choice, and she wasn't changing her mind. One night, 3 months into their relationship, she asked directly, "What do you really do, Luca? Beyond the hotel and restaurants?" He was quiet for a moment. Then, "I run the family operations. Some are legitimate. You've seen those. Others are less conventional. Protection, territory management, import businesses that don't necessarily follow all regulations." He met her eyes. "I won't lie to you, but I also won't give you details that could put you at risk. Is that acceptable?" Melissa thought about it, about the man she had come to know, who was generous and kind, who treated his employees well, who had rules and lines he clearly didn't cross. "Do you hurt innocent people?" she asked. "Never. I have strict rules about that. Are you honest with me?" "Always." "Then yes, that's acceptable. I don't need the details. I just needed to know you'd tell me the truth." He pulled her close. "You're remarkable. You know that? I'm pragmatic, and I'm falling in love with you. So I needed to know what I was getting into. And now that you know, I'm still falling." He kissed her then, deep and grateful and intense. That night, they made love differently, slower, more tender, like her acceptance had shifted something fundamental between them. But what neither of them realized was that external forces were watching, waiting, planning something that would put everything they had built in mortal danger. The 4th month brought Jennifer back into focus. They had been seeing each other occasionally. Coffees, quick lunches. Jennifer had genuinely been working on her punctuality issues, but she was also dying to meet Luca. The 3 of them had dinner at a casual restaurant downtown. Jennifer spent the first 30 minutes openly staring at Luca. "Okay," she said finally. "I need to say this. Melissa, I'm sorry I was late that night, because if I hadn't been, you wouldn't have met him. And oh my God, girl. Oh my God." Luca laughed. "I'm right here. I know. You're gorgeous. Like illegally hot. Are you actually real? Can I touch you to make sure?" "Jennifer," Melissa said, mortified. "What? I'm just saying what we're all thinking. You look like you walked out of an Italian fashion magazine. Do you have brothers, cousins, literally any male relatives who look like you? Several brothers. All taken or too young? Sorry. Tragic. Jennifer sipped her wine. Okay, real talk. What are your intentions toward my best friend? Jennifer. It's fine. Melissa started. No, let him answer. Luca looked at Jennifer directly. My intentions are to keep seeing her for as long as she'll have me, to treat her well, to be the kind of man who deserves her time, which apparently her previous friends weren't very good at respecting. Oh, he's calling me out. Jennifer looked at Melissa. I like him. He's honest and hot. Mostly hot. Can I touch his bicep just once? No, Melissa said firmly. Fine. Jennifer shifted gears. But seriously, you're good for her. She's been happier in the last 4 months than I've seen her in years. So, thank you for whatever you're doing. Keep doing it. Later, after Jennifer left, Luca said, I like your friend. She's chaotic, but she cares about you. She does, in her own way. Melissa took his hand. And she's right. I am happier because of you. Good. That's the goal. Keep you happy for as long as you'll let me. The 5th month brought the first real conflict. Luca's hotel faced a hostile takeover attempt. A larger hotel chain wanted to buy the grandeur, expand it, turn it into a standard luxury property instead of the exclusive boutique it was. Luca categorically refused. The chain got aggressive, spreading rumors, trying to poach staff, making noise about building code violations that didn't exist. Melissa watched him work 20-hour days, saw the stress in his shoulders, the exhaustion in his eyes, the way he withdrew slightly, keeping the problems to himself. After a week of this, she confronted him. Talk to me, she said. What's happening? Business. I'm handling it. You're shutting me out. I'm protecting you from stress you don't need. Luca, I love you. He went completely still. What? I love you. I should have said it weeks ago, but I'm saying it now. And when you love someone, you let them support you. So talk to me. Please let me in. His walls cracked. He told her everything. About the takeover attempt, the pressure, the stress of trying to protect his hotel and his employees, about feeling like he was fighting alone. You're not alone, Melissa said. I'm here, and I may not know hotels, but I know marketing. I know how to control narratives. Let me help. Melissa, I'm not asking permission. I'm telling you. We're in this together. Now tell me who's spreading the rumors. She helped. Used her marketing skills to craft counter-narratives, her connections to get positive press, her strategic thinking to outmaneuver the hostile chain. 2 weeks later, the takeover attempt collapsed. The grandeur remained independent. Luca found her in the penthouse office working on her laptop, pulled her into his arms. You saved my hotel, he said. We saved it together. That's what partners do. Partners? He pulled back to look at her face. Is that what we are? I hope so. Because I love you, and I want to be part of your life. The legitimate business, and the complicated parts. All of it. I love you too. He said it like a confession. I should have told you sooner, but I was scared of what it meant, of how much I needed you, of losing you if you realized what my world really involves. You're not losing me. I'm staying for as long as you'll have me. Forever then, he kissed her, because I'm not letting you go. Ever. They made love in his office, desperate and emotional and perfect. And afterward, wrapped in each other, he said, Move in with me. The penthouse. Make it ours. Yes. That was fast, because I've been waiting for you to ask. She kissed him. Yes, I'll move in. I'll make the penthouse ours. I'll be your partner in everything. The 6th month brought family. Luca's mother wanted to meet Melissa. Sunday dinner at the family home in Brooklyn. Melissa was terrified. Sicilian mothers are intense, Luca warned. She'll ask 1,000 questions. Judge everything. Probably try to feed you until you explode. Just be yourself. She'll love you. You don't know that. I do, because I love you, and my mother loves what I love. The Miller family home was beautiful chaos. Luca's mother, Rosa, his 3 brothers and their wives, his sister, assorted cousins, and about a dozen children running everywhere. The noise was overwhelming. The warmth was immediate. Rosa pulled Melissa aside within 5 minutes. So, you're the one who makes my son smile. I try. He's different now. Lighter, less serious. That's you. I'd like to think so. Good. Rosa studied her face. You know what he is? What the family does? I know enough. And you stay anyway? I stay because of who he is. Not despite it. Rosa smiled. Actually smiled. Smart girl. Welcome to the family. The dinner was loud and long and wonderful. Melissa held her own with the brothers' teasing, played with the kids, helped in the kitchen. By the end of the night, she felt like she'd been absorbed into something larger than herself, something real and warm and lasting. "They loved you," Luca said on the drive back to Manhattan. "My mother doesn't say welcome to the family unless she means it. Your family is wonderful." "They are. And you fit perfectly." He glanced at her. "Which is good because I'm going to marry you someday." "So you needed to get along." Melissa's heart stopped. "What?" "Not a proposal. Not yet. But a promise. I'm going to marry you, Melissa Stone. When the time is right. When we're ready. But it's happening. You should know that." "Good," she managed. "Because I'm going to say yes." 2 months later, 8 months after that first night in the hotel lobby, Luca proposed properly. He took her to the rooftop of the grandeur, had it set up beautifully. String lights, candles, the city glittering around them. Got down on one knee in the place where they had technically first met. "Melissa Stone, 8 months ago. You were waiting for a friend who was late. I sent security to bring you to me. Craziest thing I've ever done. Best decision of my life." He pulled out a ring box. "You're brilliant and strong. You challenge me and support me, and make me want to be the kind of man who deserves you. You've seen every part of my world, the good and the complicated, and you stayed. You chose me, and I choose you every day for the rest of my life." He opened the box. "Sapphire and diamonds and platinum. Marry me. Be my wife. Let me spend forever making sure you never wait for anyone again, because you deserve someone who shows up. Always. And I will. I promise. Will you marry me?" Melissa was crying. Happy tears she didn't bother wiping away. "Yes. God, yes. Yes to everything." He slid the ring onto her finger, stood, kissed her with the city watching. "I love you," he said against her lips. "I love you too, so much." No regrets about following a stranger to his penthouse? Not a single one. Best reckless decision I ever made. They married 6 months later. Small ceremony at the grandeur with family and close friends. Melissa wore a dress that made Luca forget how to breathe. He wore all black, naturally. When the officiant said, "You may kiss your bride," Luca cupped her face and kissed her like they were the only 2 people in the world. The room erupted in applause. At the reception, Jennifer, maid of honor, gave a toast. I'm supposed to tell embarrassing stories about Melissa, but honestly, the most embarrassing thing about her is that she tolerated my constant lateness for 10 years, which I'm working on, by the way. Therapy is great. Laughter. "But seriously, Melissa, you deserve all the happiness. And Luca, you better treat her like the queen she is, or I'll fight you. And I know people. Also, you're terrifying, but I'll try anyway." More laughter. Later, Luca whispered to Melissa, "Your friend threatened me at our wedding. I respect that. She loves you, and apparently respects you enough to think you're worthy of threats. High praise." They danced, cut cake, celebrated with everyone they loved. And late in the evening, they snuck away to the penthouse. They're home now, officially. "Hello, wife," Luca said, pulling her close. "Hello, husband. Any regrets?" She thought about that night, 8 months ago, about waiting in the lobby, about the security guard's impossible invitation, about saying yes to something insane because she was tired of waiting for people who didn't value her time. "None," she said honestly. "Not one. Best order I ever gave. Bring her to my room." He kissed her. "And you came. Thank God you came. Best decision I ever made. Following a stranger to his penthouse. We're not strangers anymore. No, we're partners. We're family. We're forever. Forever," he agreed. "Starting now." They made love in their bed with Chicago glittering outside. Their hotel, their city, their life, built on a moment of recklessness and trust, and the kind of connection that happens when 2 people choose each other despite all logic. Years later, when people asked how they met, Melissa would smile and say, "I was waiting for a friend who was late. He sent security to bring me to his penthouse. I said yes." And Luca would add, "She thought I'd be 80 years old. I wasn't. The rest is history." Because sometimes the best love stories start with terrible timing, with friends who are late and strangers who send security to collect you, with saying yes to something insane because anything is better than waiting alone. Melissa had stopped waiting that night and found something infinitely better. She found home.